Turn it off. That's what I would say. It's hard for young people now because they're hooked. They're addicted. If you don't think you're addicted, and I'm talking about anyone, from the highest to the lowest, if you don't think you're addicted, then see if you can turn it off for a week. It got quiet in here, didn't it? Didn't it get real quiet?
Why is it so hard to resist that extra slice of pizza? It's like our brains are wired for delicious self-sabotage. But seriously, folks, the struggle with pleasure and pain is real, and it all comes down to this thing called dopamine. Don't worry, I'm not about to launch into a boring science lecture. Instead, let's dive into a fascinating book that explains it all in a way that even I can understand. Dopamine Nation by Anna Lembke.
Dr. Anna Lembke is a psychiatrist who spent years studying addiction and the brain. She's like the Sherlock Holmes of dopamine, except instead of a deerstalker hat, she rocks a stethoscope and a whole lot of knowledge. In her book Dopamine Nation, Lembke breaks down the science of pleasure and pain in a way that's both relatable and eye-opening. She explains how our brains are wired to seek pleasure and avoid pain, but how this natural instinct can get us into trouble in today's world.
So, what exactly is dopamine anyway? It's a term we often hear, especially in discussions about the brain and behavior. But what does it really mean? Well, it's a neurotransmitter, which is basically a chemical messenger in the brain. These messengers are crucial for transmitting signals between nerve cells or neurons. Dopamine, in particular, plays a significant role in how we feel pleasure. It's part of our brain's reward system. Think of it like the brain's own little reward system. Whenever we do something that our brain perceives as beneficial, it releases dopamine, giving us a sense of satisfaction and pleasure. This system is designed to reinforce behaviors that are essential for our survival and well-being. When we do something pleasurable, like eating a cookie or scrolling through social media, our brains release dopamine, and we get a little hit of happiness. This release encourages us to repeat these behaviors, creating a cycle of reward and reinforcement. Dopamine is the molecule of more, Lembke writes. It's the gimme more molecule that drives us to seek out and repeat pleasurable activities. This drive can be incredibly powerful, influencing our behavior in profound ways, and that's all well and good when it comes to, say, seeking out food and water, which are essential for survival. Our ancestors relied on this system to find and consume the resources they needed to live. In this context, dopamine is a crucial part of our survival mechanism. But when it comes to things like video games, junk food, and endless online shopping, our dopamine systems can get a little carried away. These modern-day activities can hijack our brain's reward system, leading to behaviors that are not necessarily beneficial for our health or well-being. The constant pursuit of these dopamine hits can result in addictive behaviors, making it difficult to find balance in our lives. Understanding how dopamine works can help us make more informed choices about our behaviors. By being aware of how certain activities affect our brain's reward system, we can strive to find healthier ways to achieve balance and satisfaction in our lives. Whether it's through mindfulness, engaging in fulfilling hobbies, or spending time in nature, there are many ways to nurture our well-being without falling into the trap of constant dopamine-driven pursuits. Here's the thing, we live in a world that's basically designed to hijack our dopamine systems. We are constantly bombarded with stimuli, notifications, ads, and endless streams of content, all engineered to give us those little dopamine hits and keep us coming back for more. It's like we're living in a giant dopamine buffet, and it's all too easy to overindulge. And just like eating too much candy can make you feel sick, too much dopamine can have negative consequences for our mental and physical health.
Section 5. Real-life examples. Stories from the dopamine trenches. Lembke shares a bunch of stories in her book about people whose lives have been impacted by dopamine overload.
There's the guy who got hooked on video games to the point where he stopped going to work and showering, and the woman who spent thousands of dollars on online shopping she couldn't afford.
These stories might sound extreme, but they illustrate a point that's relevant to all of us. When it comes to dopamine, it's easy to get caught in a cycle of craving and instant gratification.
Is to experience pleasure and satisfaction in our lives.
Section 7. Practical tips for taming the dopamine dragon. Okay, so we've covered the bad news. Now, for the good news, there are things we can do to regain control of our dopamine systems and find a healthier balance in our lives. Lembke suggests things like setting limits on our screen time, practicing mindfulness and meditation, and finding joy in simple pleasures like spending time in nature or connecting with loved ones. She also talks about the importance of dopamine fasting, which involves taking breaks from the things that trigger those intense dopamine surges.
Section 8, wrapping it up, key takeaways, and a final thought. In this final section, we will reflect on the core messages of Dopamine Nation and how they can be applied to our daily lives. Dopamine Nation is a powerful reminder that our brains are wired for pleasure, constantly seeking out activities and experiences that release dopamine, the feel-good neurotransmitter. However, it's crucial to understand that too much of a good thing can be a bad thing. Overindulgence in food, technology, or any other pleasure-inducing activity can lead to negative consequences such as stress, anxiety, and even addiction. The key takeaway here is not about eliminating pleasure altogether. Rather, it's about finding a healthy balance. Engaging in mindfulness practices, hobbies, and activities that bring genuine joy can help us maintain this balance. It's about finding a balance between pleasure and pain, understanding that both are essential parts of the human experience. Just like walking a tightrope, it requires careful attention and practice. Learning to appreciate the simple joys in life, such as a walk in the park or playing with a pet, can significantly enhance our overall well-being. These small moments of happiness can add up to a more fulfilling life. So the next time you find yourself reaching for your phone out of habit or boredom, take a moment to pause and reflect. Or when you're tempted by that extra slice of cake, consider whether it's truly what you need or just a fleeting desire. Taking a moment to pause and consider the potential consequences of our actions can lead to more mindful and healthier choices. As Dr. Lembke wisely says, the pursuit of pleasure is a worthy goal, but it should not come at the expense of our well-being. Her insights remind us to be mindful of our choices and to strive for a balanced life. The pursuit of pleasure is a worthy goal, but it should not come at the expense of our well-being. Achieving our goals and enjoying life should be done in a way that supports our mental and physical health. In conclusion, Dopamine Nation teaches us the importance of balance, mindfulness, and appreciating the simple joys in life. By applying these principles, we can lead healthier, more fulfilling lives.